on my left, a gentleman who was quite serious about wearing glasses on this program, except that he didn't say what kind of glasses. Mr. Fred Allen.
Mr. James, this is your first appearance on this show, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is my first appearance on this show. And we can save an awful lot of time if you just tell me what you do.
John, I'm going to feel like an absolute fool if I'm not right, but I think I'd better disqualify myself because I think I have reason to know who Mr. Palmaro is. So I'll pass to Fred.
Mr. Allen?
Well, could I have a conference?
Who would you like to have a conference with?
With Dorothy.
Or with? That's 7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
Miss McMahon, do young men come to you, too, as well as old men like Fred?
Wait. I disqualify Arlene's question. I disqualify.
Fred, I think the point is properly taken.
You know I adore you, Fred.
Oh, sure.
Just the way you are.
You tall, dark, and handsome?
Alas, no.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
Are you short, fat, and light? Well, John, I can't see what I'm doing. You have to excuse my predicament here. I can't think in Braille, fortunately.
Well, are you closely associated with any famous man from your state?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Allen.
Are you associated with any infamous man? Services require any training that you have formally have to acquire before you're able to dispense these services? I borrowed that sentence from John. You don't mind, do you, John?
No, I was just unraveling it. I'll give you the answer in a bit. No, actually, Fred, I would say this, that our guest does require a talent and a skill which has to be self-trained or formally trained in a school of some kind. In that degree, you have a very finely trained
John,
technician.
would you answer one question for me?
Yes, I will, Fred.
Who said, "I'll be the life of the party"? Was that Adlai Stevenson, do you know?
But if he's successful in what he sets out to do, you could accept that he has subdued the animal in question.
John, may I ask you a question?
Yes, Fred.
Do you think Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis will split up? May I ask you a question, John?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Do you think Cleveland has a chance to win the American?
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you do whatever it is that you... I tell you, Mr. Klein, you're only going to get $50 from John. We'll give you $60 to tell us what to do. Well, do people come to you for your services?
That, I believe, has been asked before, and the question could be answered properly sometimes.
Was that the same answer as the other time, too?
I think so.
I thought I might be gaining on you, John. I just wanted to make sure.
Now all you have to do is determine what it is that Miss Dodd has to do with a hog.
She raises them.
Raises hogs? That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Allen.
She associates with... Small enough to... Is this bigger than a kumquat? I know Steve took the bread box away with him. We can't use that.
Actually, I would say this, that if Mr. Neely were to provide his services to Miss Francis and Miss Kilgallen, and you were to restrict these services to the area from the neck up, we would assume, reasonably, that you might be aware that such service had been administered.
Could I ask you a question, John?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Have you been invited to the Grace Kelly wedding? May I ask you a question, John?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Do you think aggressiveness is out of place in a midget? Has nothing to do with things in general, but I mean, John, do you think that ignorance is happiness in the raw? As far as I'm concerned. At my right, ladies and gentlemen, a young lady who has something bothering her tonight. She wants to know, when you're eating the tongue in a tongue sandwich, is the tongue tasting you or are you tasting the tongue?
Oh, I would say this, Fred, considering that you are, rather generally known to be conservative in tastes, etc., we might say that it would be fair to assume that you wouldn't have any great interest in it, yes.
But, John, if words were automobiles, your mouth would be like the Lincoln Tunnel.
Oh, would you be good enough, since the panel would like to get a closer look at you, to walk down in front of them?
So am I. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Nice night for a walk, isn't it?
Could be in a municipal building. At the same time, if there was a shortage of space in municipal quarters, it might be rented quarters in a commercial building, so that you may take it as you will.
John, you give me an answer, and you have enough conversation left over to start another argument. I mean,
Is it possible that you work for somebody very important in the state?
Well, I think so.
Would your work be in any
That
part...
is a subjective decision, Miss Harley.
A subjective decision. So I have to be objective about it.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Fred?
She's important. You may not.
I'm afraid to ask John. That goes on for another hour. Have you read my book? John, may I inject a non sequitur?
Yes, of course.
Do you think that Princess Margaret will marry Prince Philip?
Mr. Miller, is there a product involved in what you do?
No. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
If there is no product, Mr. Miller, do you deal in services, do you?
Yes.
Might I be inclined to come to...
Yes. And Fred, when this is all over, well...
Is this within the law, what you do?
Mr. Sir.
Mr. Miller, do you cure people of something? Or help them in some material way to get over some condition?
Yes.
And you say Mr. Allen might come to you.
Now, if Fred came to you, it would be...
This is my 3rd visit, darling.
We're getting nowhere.
And I want you to know that you're already showing improvement, too, Fred. Actually, Fred, you said there isn't any eating going on.
That's true.
So I would say, yes, there is no eating going on, and you continue.
John, you can cut half of your words in halves. I still wouldn't know what the other half...
Fred, so that you're not misled by this, this is a hometown designation. It does not necessarily mean that Mr. Fowler has spent or plans to spend all of his life there.
Mm-hmm. John, may I ask you a question?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Would you give me a truthful answer?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Have you ever seen Renfrew of the Mounted when he's been down off his horse?
No, Mr. Allen.
I ask you a question, John.
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Do you think Ike will run?
I'll let you know Thursday.
Pardon?
I'll let you know Thursday.
Thursday.
I don't want to mislead you, but there is a product involved, the identification of which would undoubtedly help you determine the service that was performed.
Mm-hmm. John, do you think if...
Here we go.
Do you think if ignorance was catching that I would be a carrier?